My name is Irfan. I'm one of the engineers here. I'll be walking us through how to inspect and service a PCU safely. Before we inspect and service this PCU, there's kind of a few things we have to do to make sure the unit is safe to handle so we don't get shocked. So the first thing to do is just cut off all the power going into the system. This can be done at the circuit breaker panel. And then the next thing to do is toggle the switch off. It's near the PLC, make sure that's off. And then verify that there's no power going to the system by this indicator light. If this indicator light is off, then we know, okay, we're good to go. There's no power going in. Next thing to do is push this button right here. And what this button does is it dissipates all the residual charge left over on the cell. Also, before handling, manually discharge the cell by bridging the contact tab to the grounded cell plate using an insulated tool. In this case, a screwdriver. These cells act like capacitors. So what that means is once these cells are energized and you turn them off, they can still hold a charge. So if we touch the cell, we can still get shocked. So this button really grounds out the cell and dissipates all the residual charge left over. So once you touch this button, once you push this button, we know the cell is safe to handle. Before we get into too much detail on how to service it, I just want to give you guys some background information on what this unit is, what it does, where it's installed, why it's installed, and just some of the key components of the internals of this unit. Just give you a general idea. This is called a PCU. It's a pollution control unit. It's installed in commercial kitchens, restaurants. They're installed directly in the kitchen exhaust ducting system. It's installed between the hood and a blower. So under the hood, as you know, there's like ovens, stoves, fryers, and that all emits grease and smoke and odors. All that grease, smoke, and odor gets sucked up into the duct and it goes through our pollution control unit. And in our pollution control unit, there's a multi-stage filtration system where it cleans the air and removes the odor. On the inlet side, there's an aluminum mesh pre-filter that captures all the large grease particles. Once it passes through that aluminum mesh pre-filter, it goes to the electrostatic cell, and that captures all the fine particulates that the aluminum mesh did not capture. Once it goes through that, then it goes through another pre-filter, and then it goes through an odor control module. What that does is it removes all the odors. It's carbon filters, so that removes all the VOCs, and then it gets exhausted outside, and that's the clean air. The benefit of this is it not only improves the indoor air quality, but it doesn't produce any air pollution. It keeps the outdoor air quality clean. It removes any odors outside, so when you walk outside, you don't smell the food of the restaurant. And then it's a safety factor. If you don't have this in the duct of the restaurant, grease can get built up in there, get all stuck, and then over time, grease is flammable. So over time, cause a fire. Basically what it does is it decreases the chance of a fire. However, most importantly, many of our kitchen exhaust units are factory pre-piped with an ANSOL fire suppression system featuring fusible link heat detection that activates when temperatures exceed its rating, fully compliant with ANSOL R102 standards. There's many benefits to this unit. For both the auto clean and the F72, there will be a drain. Make sure for the auto clean that you route the drain to a grease interceptor, and then for the F72, route it to a grease trap. The unit that we're looking at right now is an auto clean 2000. And so we have kind of two categories. We have an auto clean and an F72. The auto clean houses fully automatic washing cycle system. So what that means is it washes the cells. You don't have to manually wash them. So that's the nice thing about the auto clean. And that's all done through the PLC, which I'll go more into detail later on. And the F72 is a manual wash system. So it doesn't house any of these components here. It's pretty bare, it has no PLC, and you have to manually wash the cells. Under that, we have different sizes. We have a 2000 CFM size, we have a 4000 CFM size, and we have an 8000 CFM size. So that just means the unit can do up to 2000 CFM, 4000 CFM, or 8000 CFM. We do have the 12,000 as well, and can absolutely go further than that based on customer demands, but our base units are 2, 4, and 8. This one, again, is an auto clean 2000 that has one pre-filter on the inlet, one on the outlet, and then one electrostatic cell. The 4000 has 2 electrostatic cells, so it's twice as wide. So there's another electrostatic cell here, and then one at the back, and then 2 aluminum mesh filters on the inlet and on the outlet. The 8000 is just a stacked 4000. So it has 4 electrostatic cells here. So it has electrostatic, and then a stacked, and then 4 aluminum mesh pre-filters on the inlet and on the outlet. And then as I mentioned, this system does remove odors. So we don't have an odor module here, but typically it's right next to the auto clean. So the inlet's here, and the outer module will go here depending on where the airflow is. So left to right or right to left. If you have a 2000 CFM unit, you have 8 carbon filters. If you have a 4000, you have 16, and then if you have an 8000, you have 32. Depending on the airflow, you can switch these around, so these can go left to right or right to left. For the internals of the system, this is the top portion. So this is the auto clean. This houses the detergent pump, the solenoid valve. This is a valve that lets water flow through the system. And then you have your gears and motors. And what this does is it controls the sweeping of the wash nozzles of the cell, so it gets a full wash of the cell. And then we have our PLC. And this PLC, this controls the washing, the time of your wash, so the scheduling. This control how often you want to clean them, the time of day, how frequently, how many times a week you want to clean them. You can also just do a manual wash if you want, just depending on what you want to do. So you can control many things on that. For the bottom portion, let me just open the control panel. To remove the electrical control panel, these are opened by quarter turn latches. I've had customers who've stripped these because they thought these were regular screws, but these are actually quarter turn, so I'll show you how to remove them. Like I said, a quarter turn, and I'll slide out just like that. Pretty easy. Slide it out. This houses kind of 2 main components. Our safety door interlock switch. This is kind of a mechanical switch. This is a safety door interlock switch. It's a mechanical spring-loaded switch. Just a safety thing, so when the door is open, the cells will not be energized. And when the door is closed, the cells will then be energized. And then this is our high voltage power supply. This outputs our high ionizer voltage and our high collector voltage. The ionizer side outputs around 9.4 kilovolts DC, and our collector side outputs around 4.5 kilovolts DC. On the right-hand side of the control panel, that is your schematic. That will tell you your serial number, the unit you have, and the voltage your unit is set at. So that's kind of it for the main components of this unit. So now we can go remove the door and take the cell out. By removing the door, all you have to do is unscrew these 2 door latches over here, like this. And then a good trick to keep this door open is to slide this pre-filter out like this, and that way you don't have the door swinging in and out. These cells are typically 64 pounds. The one in here is a 32-pound cell, but they're typically 64 pounds, so they're extremely heavy. So we recommend, before removing it, having a stable platform to put it on, just for safety. When removing the cell, we recommend wearing some safety gloves. These cells are sharp. They have sharp corners. The plates are sharp. I've gotten cut a few times myself. So just wear some safety gloves like this. So most customer issues happen within the cell. 95% of the time when the unit is not working properly, when the light is not on, the problem lies within the cell. And that's because either the cell is not being serviced as regularly as it should, or it's not being cleaned. So it's really important to clean these cells. We really tell the customers to take care of the cells, service them, because over time they could lose their efficiency. Even if the indicator light is on, they could lose their efficiency and then they'll just stop working out altogether. When removing the cell, there's kind of 2 good areas to hold the cell when removing it. These cells are delicate. They're made of aluminum plates, so they can bend or break pretty easily. So 2 good areas to hold is on the handle here and the bottom platform of the cell, like so, like this, the metal frame. How the cells work is as the air passes through the inlet, the air gets ionized by these high voltage ionizer wires. The particles in the air get ionized, causing them to lose electrons and obtain a positive electrical charge. The air then goes through these alternately charged plates of positive and negative. As the air passes through these plates, the positively charged plates repel the positively charged particles and the negative plates attract them. And that's how they get captured on these collector plates. When inspecting the cell, there are a few things you have to look out for to know if your cell is damaged or not. The first thing to look out for is the ionizer wires. These can come out of place, they can snap, they can break, so make sure these are in place and have a good connection. The next thing to look out for is if the ceramic blocks are damaged at all, they're cracked, the metal tabs are broken or out of place. These are what make contact with the door, so make sure these are nice and clean so they have a good connection. The next thing to look out for is these aluminum plates. These are extremely delicate. They can bend pretty easily. Look out if the plates are touching one another, if they're close to touching one another. Look out for that. When you look down on the cell, make sure they're nice, straight, and perfectly aligned like so. The last thing to see is, and this is the most important thing that we tell customers, to check if your cells are dirty. If your cells are dirty, they'll lose their efficiency, and then over time they will stop working out altogether. So that is the most important thing. Check to see if there's any large debris in between the collector plates. Make sure these are extremely clean. We do sell replacements of these ionizer wires, but anything else we really don't sell replacements. So if these tabs come out of place, try to put them back in place, tighten them down. If these ceramic blocks crack, you might need a replacement cell, unfortunately. If these collector plates are bent or out of place, try to straighten them out as best as you can. So those are the kind of the main things to look out for to know if your cell is working properly. Make sure to clean the cells as often as possible. How often you clean them just depends on the environment that it's being used in, what's being cooked, how often this unit is being used. That just depends on application. I can't give you an answer on that, but cleaning is probably the most important thing to do when servicing this unit. Like I stated before, we have 2 units, auto clean and an F72. So if you have an F72, that just means you have to manually wash your cells. How you do that is you grab a large tote container kind of, and you mix in the detergent that we sell with warm water, place the cell in there and let the cell soak in there for about 45 minutes to an hour, and swish it around every 15 minutes to let the detergent kind of get in between the plates and kind of soak in the cell. Once you let it sit there for about an hour, take it out, rinse all the detergent off and let it dry. If you have an auto clean, then it's pretty simple. All you have to do is program your washing cycle through the PLC. This is, again, you can set how many times a week you want to wash it, the time of day. If you just want to do a manual wash, say start manual wash, you can do that. So you can do many things on there, and that will just wash the cell inside the unit. And what's kind of nice about our system is we have a detergent pump and a solenoid valve. You do not have to dilute the detergent with water. The system will do it automatically. So when it's washing, it will automatically mix the detergent and water in together and wash the cells. One thing to note is make sure there is enough detergent in the tank when you start a wash cycle. I've had customers where they might have damaged their pump because they had detergent in the beginning but didn't have enough to finish the wash cycle, and so the pump was pumping nothing, so it damaged the pump. So overall, it is really important to clean and wash these cells. Even if your light is still on and you haven't serviced or washed your cells for a long period of time, you might think, oh, my unit's still working, I don't need to touch it until the light turns off. I've had customers do that, and that's an issue because your cells could be still dirty and they could lose efficiency over time. So maybe they're not capturing as much grease and smoke as they were when they were clean. So this light, again, is just a mere indication the cells are being energized or not. It's not to show you that, oh, the cells aren't as efficient. The light will not go dim to show that the efficiency has lowered. It's just an on or off state. So make sure to wash these cells. Make sure in order to keep that efficiency, clean these cells as regularly as possible. And don't forget about these aluminum mesh pre-filters. Clean those as well. So like I said, this cell has a specific orientation depending on where the blower is. You can go right to left or left to right. However, the pre-filter has no orientation. This you can put any which way. Make sure to clean these when you clean the cells. So if you have an F72, rule of thumb, just make sure these are cleaned with detergent and rinse them down. And then no specific orientation, you put them any which way. So that's kind of it for servicing and inspecting the cell. If you have any of these issues, this could be causing your cell to lose its efficiency and stop working out altogether. It's really important to take care of the cell. You just have to take care of it, clean it, make sure you're keeping up with it. Now we'll go on to troubleshooting. So now for troubleshooting, the first sign that your unit is not working properly is if this cell keeps flickering on and off constantly. You'll hear at the same time this is flickering on and off, you'll hear a constant zapping noise from the cell. Now this is normal for the first few minutes when you turn your unit on. Maybe there's some debris stuck in between the cell, but if it's constantly happening for a long period of time, there could be an underlying issue. So the first thing I would do is check for the cell. That's the number one thing I would do. So like the points we discussed, I'll make sure the ionizer wires are in place. I've seen a customer where the ionizer wires is flickering in and out, so it's shorting the cell in and out. It's like wavering in and out. The plates, make sure they're not touching one another. Even if they're not touching and they're close to one another, that could be causing a short within the cell, which could be causing the light to flicker, shorting in and out. And then make sure that the cells are clean. That's the number one thing to do, is to clean the cells. If your cells are dirty, the gap between the positively charged plates and the grounded plates could could be coming closer and closer, where they could be causing the cell to short out. So make sure that the cells are nice and clean. If they are clean and the cell is still zapping, and you check the ionizer wires, you check the collector plates, make sure the tabs are clean. That's where they make contact with the door. Make sure those are nice and clean. Sometimes if all that is good, maybe there's a large debris stuck in between the corner of the plate or a seam in between the plate. So make sure you really clean down, and then you should be good to go. So now we'll go on to if your light is off. If your light is totally off, that just means your cells are not being energized. Your unit is not cleaning the air at all. That could be because of a multitude of reasons. Number one, the wash cycle is engaged. If the cells are being cleaned, the light will not turn on and the cells will not be energized. Number two, that could be because the safety interlock switch is not engaged all the way. So make sure the door is shut all the way. Again, you open the door, the cells will not be energized. So make sure the door is shut all the way and the interlock switch is pushed down. The third reason why the light could be off is because the cells are dirty. Like we said, the ionizer wires are out of place, the collector plates, there's something wrong with the collector plates. There's some issue that's coming from the cell. Good way to test that is to remove the cell, close the door, and see if the light comes back, and turn the unit on and see if the light comes back on. If the light does come back on, then we know there's an issue within the cell. We have to inspect the cell. We have to, like the reasons we stated on how to inspect the cell, go through those and see if any of those issues are coming with it from the cell. If the light does not come back on, then it's another issue. It's probably within the power supply. The problem is probably coming from the high voltage power supply. In order to test to see if the high voltage power supply is working or not, we have to remove the electrical cover panel. So in order to test if your high voltage power supply is working correctly or not, first thing to do is measure if the power supply is actually getting any voltage. So this can be done at the line in neutral. Depending on whatever your system is running at 120 or 240, you should be measuring 120 or 240. If you are getting power, then the next thing would be to measure the output voltage. Now this is tricky. You can't just use a regular multimeter. You would need a high voltage probe, a high voltage meter, because the ionizer is outputting around 9,400 kilovolts DC. And the collector is outputting around 4,500 volts DC. So it's high voltage. So if you do have a high voltage meter, you can measure that and see what you're getting. If you do not have a meter, then it's kind of hard to test if we're getting the correct output. But most likely, if you remove the cell, the light still does not come back on. The problem is within the power supply and you'll need a replacement. And so we do sell replacements of power supplies. One thing to note is make sure that the red jumper is on whatever voltage the unit is running at, either 120 or 240, since these boards can do both voltages. Now for this portion, if you notice your detergent pump is not pumping any detergent, firstly check the input voltage to the pump. Again, you should be getting 120 or 240 depending on whatever the system is running. If you're getting input voltage, check to see if you actually have detergent in the tank. And then sometimes if the detergent sits for a while, it can clog up on the inlet here. Make sure the detergent is not being clogged in the pumps and it's letting the detergent pass through the pump. When the pump is engaged, you should hear a rapid clicking sound. And then for the solenoid valve, there's only one click. It's kind of hard to hear when it's engaged, but you can measure the input voltage. So yeah, measure the input voltage. But it's very rare to see any issues occur with the pump or the solenoid valve. Most issues again happen within the cell. You've now completed the essential maintenance procedures for your system. Following these steps ensures optimal performance, extended equipment life, and a safer working environment. For additional support, training, or service, contact Air Quality Engineering. Thank you for choosing Air Quality Engineering.